Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Violet Rain.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Violet Rain, and I'm so excited to have my guest today, Heather Heck. Hopefully, I pronounced that pretty close. She's a multimedia abstract artist and writer, an intuitive artist and painter. She interprets people, places, and experiences through color, a condition known as I will mess it up. Help me out, Heather. What's the word?
Synesthesia.
Synesthesia, which I've never heard of. Like an enormous box of crayons, her gift operates by categorizing through intricate but specific shades of color. Why this condition enables her to experience color, she responds to these encounters with people, things, emotions, and spaces by understanding the particular shade of experience that a person dwells in. I'm excited to find out more because I love color. And I love color healing and I understand the power of color. So this is going to be really fun. So share with us how your journey took you to do what you do today to connect with people in color, because I'm sure you didn't start here. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me today. I was always a really creative kid. I was a super artistic child. I loved to draw and sketch and listen to music and dance and creativity was my jam. And years and years later, I found myself working in human resources and helping people with their benefits and all kinds of things related to HR. And I found myself in a place where no amount of time off or vacation was going to make me feel better. I was just drained. I was burnt out. I started to work with a spiritual teacher, and she and I kind of talked about, well, what did you like as a kid? What were you interested in? And, we talked about how our gifts show up for us when we're young. And so, kind of going back in time, looking at what was I interested in, a lot of it centered around art and color and discovered that I had the ability to see and sense color around people. And immediately went to the art supply store, bought, paints and canvases, and started to paint people's energies, started to paint what I saw for them, and left my corporate job back at the end of 2019 to pursue art making full time.
I love that. I love that. So what you see, how different is that in our aura? Because
Mhm.
for those listening, we have an energetic aura around us that has colors in it. So a lot of people will go and have an aura photo taken. So what's the difference in looking at that aura and what you're doing?
So I see both. I can see somebody's aura. That started for me when I worked in human resources. People would come into my office and I would see color start to billow out around their heads and shoulders. And I was like, what is going on? This is so funny. It was a little bit bizarre. So that was one, I started to see that. And then two, when I would meet somebody, I would instantly sort of see where they are energetically, a color that's associated with the chakras. And I would go, oh, that person's got blue-gray energy. Well, what does that mean? And so I would kind of dig into, well, blue-gray for me is about grief. So that person might be stuck in a grief space. And so I would make a painting for them that reflects sort of a prescription color, like what color is going to help you get out of that space and move into a place of healing. So it was a little bit of kind of digging into, okay, what can I see and where do I feel it and how do I read it and how do I connect the colors that I'm seeing for people to the chakras, and then the chakras give me more insight into what's really going on with somebody.
So do our auras change color?
They do. They do. And your chakra centers change color too. I would say, depending on what's happening in your life, I've done spirit portraits for people, one, and then 6 months later do another, and they might be in a completely different space and time, depending on what work they've done on themselves or whether or not their situation's changed for them.
You know, it's interesting because I do Akashic record readings, and a lot of times when I'm sitting with a client working in the Akashic, I see their soul color.
Oh,
Okay, so that's different than where they're at in that moment. It's different than their aura, but I see their soul color, which means it tells me what their purpose and what they are working on through every lifetime because it is the color that their original soul, their imprint, their blueprint is. And so I will see various colors. And just like you, colors mean different things to me. So
hmm.
it tells me a lot about that individual and what they may struggle with, what they may have as a gift based on the colors that are showing up within their soul.
Oh, I
So
love that.
so very similar to what you're doing, but mine's more stationary. Like I don't believe that changes.
Hmm.
I believe because I work in the Akashic Records that we have tons and tons of life experiences. Some of them have been really happy experience, joyful, perfect. It draws us back in. Some have been very difficult and challenging. All of us have had a full spectrum of experiences. So I always tell my students, you've murdered somebody. You've done something awful to somebody. Let's just put that on the table and get through that. You have not been a perfect angel throughout all your lifetimes. And they're like, but I'm a perfect angel now. Okay, we'll go with that. But you haven't been that way because you can't know love if you haven't known hate. There's a reason why we go through these experiences so that we can evolve and grow and know, hey, that didn't work for me, or hey, that's just not who I am. And you're not going to know that unless you play in some of these areas. So your soul color is going to be the same. It's going to provide what your challenges, your opportunities, your gifts. It's going to say a lot about you. So color is really cool. So I know you have a painting there. Share with us a little bit about what brought that on and maybe what that person's going through.
Yeah, for sure. So this is actually a spirit portrait. I don't think she'd mind me showing you for my aunt. I did one for her recently. So when I do a spirit portrait painting for somebody, it's with these beautiful, vibrant alcohol inks. And I'll sit and meditate on someone's energies and I'll read through their chakras. And I'm looking for colors and symbols and shapes that appear in each one that sort of offer a message for that person. And so I'll see something in the crown or something in the sacral chakra, but it's focused on a particular energy center. And for this person, it is all about their heart. And so as I'm working on their spirit portrait, different symbols and shapes are coming through as I'm painting, and I'll write down what they mean for them. So this is about deep, deep healing in the heart center for her. And there's this beautiful gold that's in there too, which is all about abundance. So there's this aspect of sort of a circle there that's not complete. So there's something that she's working on completing in this time of her life, and there's also something about allowing for her. She's working on allowing a certain aspect of healing to happen in the heart.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
It's really
It's,
beautiful.
when I was in Lilydale this last summer, I spent a week in Lilydale, which is a spiritualist camp, if you guys aren't aware. And they were talking a lot about spirit drawings, which is what you're doing,
Hmm.
right? The spirit drawings, and they teach that. But they were also making cards. So they would sit with crowns. So I'm going to give you an idea, and irons, and they would melt the crowns on the cards, and they'd do a whole variety of cards. And then when they would sit and do a reading for somebody, they'd have them pull the card, and you could see all kinds of images, and it changes and warps as you look at it. So
Hmm.
each person sitting down with that card and you're doing a reading, you're going to get different information that's going to pop up on that card. And they called them spirit cards. There's also another really strange name for it, which most people go, I don't know what you're talking about. So spirit cards are kind of cool. So something else for you to think about possibly in the future, Heather, is making a deck that people could utilize with your art.
Oh yeah. So that's so funny you said that because my friend Rose, who you and I know, she and I actually worked on a deck of cards together to infuse the cards with healing, with Reiki energy, and with the healing energy of the colors from my different artworks too. So
I love that.
that's in
I
the
love
works.
that. I love that. Isn't that funny how that goes around and comes back
Yeah.
around, right? I absolutely love that. So, when we think about color, some people are really drawn to color. Like I'm really drawn to color. I think color is super important. And I tell people all the time, the colors you wear tell me a lot about you.
Hmm.
The colors you paint your house tell me a lot about you.
Yep.
The color car you drive says a lot about you, and people are like, "What?" Because we're drawn to certain colors, and colors have energy to them. They connect to our emotions. They connect to our mental thoughts. And so you working with these colors and art, right? What do you find when you're working with people? I'm sure you find the same thing, that the colors say a lot to you about what's going on with them.
Absolutely. You're speaking my language. Every single color means something. When you wear a particular color, you're looking for the healing that that color offers you. When you interact with somebody, we're dressing for each other. So I'm wearing green for you today. You're wearing that beautiful purple for me. I like to say color communicates in a way that words can't. People are not aware of how often color actually influences and offers us messages throughout the day, just based on who we interact with and what colors we encounter, or what color you reach for in your closet that morning. It's telling you something about your day. And when you learn to read color, read color, what does it mean for you, and how's your spirit using it intentionally or otherwise, it can become a really powerful tool in your toolbox. So I always pay attention to what color people are wearing, and when I go into a space, what are the colors in that space, and what is it actually communicating to us when we go in there? It's really a beautiful language. So I love to teach people what it means.
So in my space, my center here in Denver, it is lavender on the wall and a
Hmm.
very light blue. So for you in color, what am I trying to create within the space? I know what my intention is, but I would love to get what you see when you come into a space and it has lavender and it's a really light cloud like blue.
Okay. Well, number one, that is a very peaceful, tranquil color combination. So you're not only asking that color to create this really soft, gentle space, but you're also supporting people in their throat chakras and in their crown chakras so that they feel comfortable, safe, and secure enough to be able to open up to receive and to be able to communicate with truth and authenticity anything that's going on for them. So those are wonderful colors for the kind of work that you do. And I bet you they instantly put people at ease when they come in.
Yeah, people come into our space and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so nice. It feels so nice in here." You
Yeah.
know, and people have asked me to change the color of the paint, can you do? And I'm like, "Nope, it's these colors. This is the only color." And sometimes I'll do a really light green, and so that light green for me is bringing in a lot of heart and healing,
Yep.
and I'll put green in there, but it's very intentional. Everything I do is super intentional because I love working with colors. I love being able to play with colors. And
Mhm.
so I think that's so cool. Now we've talked a little bit about spirituality or the energy of colors, but how does this connect us to our spirituality and healing? How can this help us in our process of where we're at?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I sit down to do a spirit portrait with somebody and I'm reading through their energy centers, I'm seeing where they're feeling stuck or blocked or feeling like they need a little bit more support. So in addition to the painting where I'm able to sort of show them where they're stuck, I'm also having a conversation with them about what that means and how to get unstuck in that area through the messages and the symbols that are coming through. So a lot of people will leave that time with me with not just a beautiful painting to take with them, but also with some ideas, tools, or meditations that they can use to incorporate that prescriptive color into their lives so they can start to use color more intentionally. And I've seen people shift their color schemes. I have a really dear friend who pretty much wore black constantly, and we were, connecting over what that meant for her. And when I did her spirit portrait, I found she was really stuck in her throat and having a hard time communicating not only what it was that she wanted, but what she needed and how she wanted to like live her life in a different way. So she started changing things. She started adding blue in. And the next couple times that I saw her, she was wearing blue instead of wearing her black. And she moved away from a job that didn't serve her. She started moving into different things. So it's like this intentional use of color, and this sort of awareness of where color was active in her life started to shift how she was seeing herself and how she was approaching different things with the desire to communicate more what it was that she wanted and what she wanted to create in her life.
Colors are colors are so important. And a lot of people that wear black don't want to be seen. They don't want
Hmm.
to be heard. They want to kind of blend into the back. They're not fully into their authentic self. And so, there are some times where you wear black and it's purposeful. Like our warriors in my mystery school, they wear solid black. It
Hmm.
is for protection for them. It's like a shield of protection that's protecting so that energies don't come in or affect or influence them so that they can do the work that they need. And we
Hmm.
don't always think about colors in that way, but colors are so important. The
Hmm.
same thing happens with malas because a lot of us love our malas. And I have a friend of mine that does mala workshops here in Denver. And she goes, I think about my mala first. What energy do I want for that day? What do I want to be? And a lot of people will wear crystal bracelets,
Hmm.
necklaces to create different energies or different fields around them. Those are colors too.
Yep.
And so they're picking that first, and then they're picking the clothing that goes with it. Same concept, right? Just a different approach. So if you wear a lot of crystal bracelets or if you wear malas, you're trying to create an energy field to either support you, to help you, or to protect you, a shield of some sort. And you're bringing that in with your jewelry. Same idea as colors.
Yep.
We have color healing, which is really powerful, where they lay colors on you for that healing process. We're using color healing in your chakras if we're using crystals. It's the same thing,
Yep.
right? It's the same concept. So, those of you that love aura photos or love connecting into the colors, I would highly recommend a color portrait with Heather because you're going to see more than you've ever seen in that experience. Now, if they don't live, I don't know where you live. Where are you at, Heather?
I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina. And I'm in Denver, but if I wanted to work with you, can we work together long distance?
Yes, absolutely. All I need from you is a picture, and then I'll sit and meditate on your energy, make your painting, and then we'll hop on a Zoom session together and I'll do the reading with you, and then I'll ship it out to you. So very easy.
Wow. Very cool. I've had a lot of soul portraits and different portraits done through this experience. And I love getting them and seeing what other people see within me, right? In
Hmm.
that process. And I love the idea that they change. They change over time.
Yeah.
And so you talk about what role does spirituality, well, we've already talked about that. I was thinking of play. I was
Uh-huh.
thinking of play in all these colors. I'm sure there's some of that healing that comes in when people play with painting and colors that you see as well. Have you done any of those experiences where you let people play with colors?
Yes, absolutely. I have a workshop that I've done in person around here where we focus on the art of letting go and the art of manifestation. And we incorporate therapeutic art techniques with associating colors and shapes and forms with your emotions, your feelings, what you want to let go of, and what you want to attract. And it's really interesting to watch people play with paint and color and markers because they're sort of not even aware that they're using color in their emotions, and they are learning how to incorporate intentional color in what they want to attract more of in their lives. So if somebody's looking to attract more love into their life, and they sort of, nonchalantly reach for green or reach for pink, their spirit is looking to call that in, and they're not even aware of it. So it's really fun for me to kind of sit with somebody and say, "Hey, what made you pick that color?" And they'll say, "Oh, I really wanted to work on creativity or communication." And I'll go, "Well, did you know that that is the color that you want to work with?" And so there's this whole of like unfolding of learning that happens. And also, art is just healing in and of itself. So when they can sit and play for 10, 15 minutes, their cortisol levels go down, their stress levels go down. And so it's really healing in so many different ways when people play with art and they play with color. It's like being a kid again.
Well, science has proven that. So this is
Hmm.
what I talk about. You have right and left brain activity. When you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, when you have anxiety, all of that is one side of the brain. When you move into creativity, whether it be coloring, whether it be painting, whether it be crafting, it shuts that side of the brain down and brings you over to the other side. So that's why painting, coloring, tracing is very meditative,
Hmm.
very healing, allows us to relax,
Yep.
allows us to be creative. Because here's what has happened for most people as they move into their adult age, they stop playing, they stop dancing, they stop singing, they stop being creative, and then they get more stress, more anxiety, more of that, and they don't know how to release it. And play allows us to manifest, allows us to be in that realm of creativity, allows us to find out who we are, to release those thoughts, that chatter in your head that just keeps talking to you that makes you anxious. It puts you in another state of being. So being able to do that has a lot of benefits.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I do lots of play shops because I want people to play. And they're like, play shops? That sounds silly. You need play, you need
Yep.
creativity, you need to sit and just let go and surrender and allow yourself to be. And creativity allows us to do that.
It does. It allows us to let go and surrender. And so I love that. I love that you do that too.
Yeah, I love that. So, what are some of the things that you offer, Heather, that people could check out? We'll have your website along the video so that people can go out and find you. But what are some of the things that you offer?
Thank you for asking. I've got a bunch of freebies on my website. If you visit heathereck.com/thank you, you can pick up a color and chakra guide there that'll introduce you to kind of the basics of the colors and the chakras and what they all mean. And then I've got a signature Amplify Your Radiant Spirit course where people can learn how to amplify your own inner rainbow through meditative exercises, art exercises, and more on my website.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you. I've loved it. I love how knowledgeable you are about color. It's so fun.
It is. I love doing this show because I have such a wide variety of interests and knowledge. So for most, I can kind of step in and chat about what they're working in. And so I love that. But color is one of my favorites. So I'm so glad that you joined us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for listening or watching, whatever platform you are checking this show out. We hope you'll like, follow, and comment. That really helps us spread the love out there. And I hope that you have a sacred, magical week and that we'll see you really soon on our next show.
Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Vialet, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. You can also send a personal message to Vialet through email. Vialet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. If you love the show, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.